2, 1.
Dun, dun, dun. Hi, guys. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday, and hopefully it's not as hot. We have been blessed the last couple of days with some cooler weather. And by cooler, I mean we're at 25, 26 and not, 40. So, because it's been hellishly hot and very humid here for the last little bit. So it is a relief to just have some, a nice cool breeze in the evening and a moderately warm day. So we've been looking forward to that all week. So what are we painting today? We are painting Janet's Columbine, and there's a little story behind this piece. I have a dear friend by the name of Janet, and she lives away. So she did me the marvelous little favor of sending me a delightful card with some seeds from her Columbine. I have lovely purple ones. They're very rich, dark purple, lovely color, but that's the only color I have. And she's got a variety. So she sent me some of her seeds. So hopefully this time next year, I will have some very pretty, different colored Columbine. And that's what inspired this piece. And I went looking and I found these beautiful periwinkle colored Columbine. And I thought, oh, perfect. And I really love this piece. It's quite pretty. And then I deviated away from the dragonfly that we did in the first part of this series and went to a butterfly. So I think you're really going to enjoy this one. I incorporated the colors from the flowers into the butterfly. And I think I really love the result. And I think you'll enjoy painting this. They're not difficult to paint. There are some tiny little spaces, but as far as the color palette goes, it's really not a difficult piece to paint. There's not a huge amount of color in this one, and we actually move the color around a little bit, so it works out very well. So this is a fun piece to paint. But before we get to that, we've got to talk about a couple of things. Last week, I was all by my lonesome here, running all of the cameras and whatnot. I managed to do it without any tragic event. Renee was quite impressed. Just saying something, because I haven't managed to do it smoothly once yet until last Saturday. But the one I did not have was a wheel. So what I did was after the live, I copy and pasted everybody in the chat, both on Facebook and on YouTube. I loaded those names into the wheel and then I gave it a spin, and I have two winners. One is a name we're familiar with. She's actually one of the members of my membership group. Is Jessica Killeran. And the other is a lovely lady who's joining us for the first time and is Polly Lachlan. Jessica, I have your shipping information. Polly, I don't have yours. So if you would hop over to the website at www.tracymoreau.net and click on the contact us button and send me your shipping information, we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible. So thank you so much for watching last weekend. We had a great time, and the piece was a lot of fun to paint. I do, however, have fantastic giveaways today. I spent a little bit of time playing in my studio this week, and I made some more, because that time of year is coming. I made some more of my lip balm, and we've put them in these lovely little packs, cute little tins. So we've included one of those in the giveaways for today. But the giveaway today is almost exclusively from DecoArt. They have provided us with some goodies for you. So we have an amazing set of brushes in there. We have a stencil. We have a surface in there, plus our little goodie bag, a little create bag, in which we tucked one of these little lip balm containers. So that's our giveaway for today. It's a fantastic set of brushes, by the way. It's a 5-brush set of DecoArt's designer series. So that is your giveaway for today. So in order to get in on those giveaways, all you have to do is join us in the chat, say hello, say good morning, tell us where you're watching from, and ask a question if you like, or just get involved in the conversation, because we have some really amazing people in this group, and you can meet some really great friends. So if you guys are ready to get started on Janet's Columbine, so am I. Oh, goodness. We're far, far away. There we go. Look at that. A little closer. Hi, Bonnie Clock. And Pat Rowe. Good heavens. And Kim McCutcheon. And Phyllis Griffey. Hello, Phyllis. Sherry, I like brushes. So do I. I have tons of them. And Sharon Shad. Hello from Ohio. Oh, Iris Roebuck. This was a great weekend. Michael's opened here yesterday. Can finally get Americana locally. No more shipping fees. Good for you, Iris. And Deanna Swindlehurst on the other coast. And Pat Colson. Hi, Pat. From sunny Saskatoon. Good for you. Glad it's nice there. And Debbie Easton, you need brushes? We all need brushes. Everyone else needs a brush. And Gloria White from Western New York. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see all these names on here. So last week we had a young lady joining us for the first time, and she was a little disappointed that I didn't show everything from very start, from base coating to transferring line drawings and everything. So I thought, you know what, we'll cover some of that today. It never hurts to go over the basics. But before we do, let's talk about preparing your canvas. What's for dinner tonight? I've made a beautiful ragu upstairs for spaghetti. We're having spaghetti this evening. So the ragu sauce that I made is bubbling away. So I have here an 8x8 canvas. These are the ones that you can get at your local Michael's store. They're not expensive. You can usually get them in bundles, and they're a reasonably good quality. They're not a high-end canvas, but for our purposes, they work perfectly. These are frameable, and they do a really nice job. They are back stapled, so they're a pretty good canvas. The only downside is that commercially available canvas are often, they have a tendency to get loose on the frame. So this part back here, the back of the canvas, you're going to take a little bit of water. Doesn't have to be distilled water, just plain old tap water. And you're going to spray the back of the canvas with the water, just like that, so that you get it well saturated. And then take a brush, brush it in so that that water gets right into the canvas, like so. So now the canvas is well saturated on the back. You're going to take a hairdryer or a heat gun, and you're going to heat it from the back. Don't leave the canvas laying like this. Tip it up. It allows the air to pass through a little bit, and it'll dry it faster. If it's laying on the surface, it's not going to dry that fast. Now, canvas is made from cotton duck, and because it's cotton, it's going to shrink a little bit when it gets wet. And then when you force it dry using a little bit of heat, just like those jeans you get, you know, you put them on early in the morning, by lunchtime, they're trying to escape, you know. And then when you, wash them in hot water and throw them in the dryer, they come out 2 sizes smaller, and you have to use like coat hangers and whatnot to get them back on. And by lunch, they're trying to escape again. So same idea. We're just going to use a little bit of heat and water to shrink the canvas. Just a little. It'll dry quickly in Reno, I have no doubt. Honest to God, it would have dried almost instantly here in the last couple of weeks. Didn't really need a hair dryer or anything to dry it. So it's almost completely dry already. But by doing this, this will give you a nice... Can you hear that? It tightens it just like a nice little drum, and now you've got a nice firm stretched canvas. So anytime you buy one of these, if you find that you're not getting, if it's got a little too much flex in it or it feels like it's sagging, just hit it with a little water on the back and then heat it with a hairdryer or your heat gun. And then once you have it base coated, you can take a smaller wood surface and tuck it underneath like that to give you a rigid surface. Then you're not stretching the canvas back out. So always have something underneath it. It can be a paperback. It can be another piece of wood. Pardon me. It could be anything as long as it's fairly rigid and a little smaller and fits in the back like so. And this is an 8x8 and this is a 4x4 wood panel and it fits perfectly in there. So that's what I've been using. And I have it marked so it makes it easier for me to remember where it is. So spritzed, sprinkled, brush it in so that that canvas gets good and wet back there, and then hit it with the hairdryer or the heat gun. Dry it up real quick. It's going to give you a nice tight finish in the back. Makes life a whole lot simpler. So from that point, you're going to go to this. This is your canvas. Now I've used a mixture of all-purpose sealer. If I can find my all-purpose sealer. I don't know where it went. All-purpose sealer and lamp black. And I put 2 coats on the entire canvas, including the edges. And then I let it dry. Once it was completely dry, I just took a fine sandpaper or a piece of brown paper and give it a light sanding and then applied a second coat. And then I let that dry. The third coat that goes on is just acrylic paint. And then you get that nice matte finish. Give it a good 20 minutes or so to dry really, really well. Or take your heat gun to it. And then you are ready for tracing and transferring your line drawing on. Now, I already have my line drawing. This one has been well loved because I've painted this 3 times in the last couple of weeks. Just because I was trying to get it done right. And I wasn't having much luck. I kept making like silly mistakes. So you're going to center this on your canvas. And your border on this is 5 inches square. So you should roughly be about 1.5 inches away. There's my 1.5 inches. Not quite 1.5 inches. And close enough. So the only thing you really have to worry about is making sure that these lines are level. And that is even more important than having them exactly positioned right. Because if they're not level, somebody's going to notice really quick. There's Bet and Phillips Freeman. Hello from Delaware. And Karen, this. Hi, Taz. You're blocking the road there, sweetie. What you doing? No. No, no, no. No. You are not allowed to play it. Seriously. You're not allowed to play in my water. No. You're bad. This Taz is challenging, aren't you? So I'm using a red 0.38 gel pen. I use it for tracing because this way I can see where I've been. Of course, now I won't because I've already used this piece for this. Hi, kitten. Miss Taz likes to help. There. Hey, you. What you do? I'm going to zoom out here for just a second. Hey, there's Miss Taz. Hey, Miss Taz. Miss Taz is, as I said, somewhat challenging. She's starting to slow down a little bit right now because it's almost nap time. Right, Taz? Helping again? She's a handful, this one. But she's so cute you can forgive her almost anything. She gave Maze a face hug the other day. Yes, Miss Taz has grown a lot. She is 7 pounds now. And she's never on her best behavior because I'm not sure she has one. She was helping my husband in the garage the other day. I use the term helping very loosely. She's taken after Gizmo. Gizmo likes to pull up the borders on the rubber floor in the garage, and Taz decided to assist efforts. So needless to say, my husband was chasing them both out of the garage because they make a mess. So she left the garage and went into the kitchen and then promptly went to work splashing the water bowl all over the kitchen floor. Hey, no. No, 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 no. Where you go? Thank you. She is a handful. There we go. So all I'm going to do is just medium to light pressure trace this pattern onto my canvas. Remember, I've got that nice little wood block underneath. That 6x6 piece of wood. And that keeps the canvas stable, prevents it from stretching and sagging while I'm tracing, which means my line drawing is going to be more accurate. Maybe. I get a lot of help here. Like I said, she's so stinking cute, we can forgive her a lot. What are you doing? Can I have my pen? Thank you. Yeah, we love Taz too, but she's much, aren't you? Little devil. She lives up to her name. Her and Maze get along really well, which is really funny because Taz was so itty-bitty when we got her. I mean, she was barely a half a pound. She was tiny little thing. I mean, she fit in the palm of my hand, literally. And I have a bowl cozy for my noodle bowls. And Taz would curl up and go to sleep in it, give you an idea how small she was. Yeah, right from day one, her and Maze have gotten along. Which I thought was so cute because the kitten would bounce sideways at her and, you know. But yeah, Maze likes the kitten. Almost finished here. This is, for me, this is the most boring part of any pattern is putting this tracing on. But taping the line drawing down, I work on a heavier grade paper. I have never liked working with transfer paper or tracing paper. I just always felt like things weren't lining up properly or they'd shift, and I don't like working with the 2 layers. Hi, Connie. Yeah, Maze bathes the cats, which I think is hysterically funny. she'll walk by and give Aerie or Gizmo a lick, and she cleans Aerie's ears, which just cracks me up. And Aerie does not like it. Okay, let's have a look here and see how badly I've messed up. Okay, I'm going to... Holy! Hi, kitten. Yeah, almost forgot that stem. And then I almost forgot these things in the back here. I get talking and I lose track of where I am. There we go. Columbine, I have a beautiful ones, two of them actually up front. They're the same color, but there's two different plants. And yeah, she's helping me finish. We'll go with that, shall we? Let me see where I'm at. Honestly. Now, the important part of this piece, to ensure that things look the way they're supposed to look, is this border. Hey! Do you mind? So, I'm going to use I use a steel edge ruler for a couple of reasons. Seriously? The steel edge rulers, plastic rulers, have a tendency to get chipped over time, and then you can't get a straight line out of them. So I use a steel edge ruler, and I always use one that has a cork on the back, simply because I want that gap. So that if I'm putting gold paint pen on, for instance, I don't have to worry about it bleeding under. So, making yourself at home, Dad? Or is this where you're going to nap today? Hey. Excuse me. Pardon me. Let's check. Oh, looks good. Yep. I don't think I've missed anything. Yes, I have missed. I've missed anything. Yes. Knock it off. You are not making this easy, kitten. There we go. Alrighty then. I think I've got those. Now, I have a butterfly. Now, when I did the original, I put the butterfly right here. And I thought I should lower it a little. Hence the reason I have it cut out. I want it lowered a little bit. I felt it was too high. Of course, these are the things that I nitpick. Yes, she's cute. Yes, she is cute. You're so bad. But she is a badness, aren't you? Right? She stole Renee's socks the other day, right out of the hamper. She stole the medicine cups off the kitchen window sill, and they were scattered all over the house. She's not allowed on the counters, and she knows she's not allowed on the counters because she doesn't do it during the day. Heaven forbid. So there, I think I like that much better. I have this hindsight thing every time I go from I paint the first one and I'm happy with everything until I get to certain little details. And when you look at these two, they read differently. Okay, that's enough. Now she's heading for the water basin. Oh, we're not having that. So when you look at these two, this one, although it looks fine, is a little close. For me, it's a little close to this flower. So I dropped it a little bit. Oh, what's going to happen when Tracy puts out her paints? Somebody's going upstairs. We've already done that. I have several green paw prints on the windowsills upstairs because Miss Thang decided she wanted to play in my paint. So our first two colors for today are warm white and periwinkle. Oh, no, no, no. No, 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 madam. Absolutely not. Oops. That was rude. Oh. Periwinkle. This is a color I don't use often. And I think the reason I haven't used it often is I could never find a really great shading color for it until now. So, periwinkle. Very pretty color. Very, very, very pretty color. I'm going to get some brushes out. And we'll get a little bit of Jo Sonja. Jo Sonja's Fast Drying Glaze. They are Dragon's Egg Cucumbers. I've never heard of those. But that sounds really interesting. Hi. Yeah. We're all impressed there, Dad. Okay. Now, I need a round. Here we go. I've got a small round. What color can you... Perfect Peri is an excellent substitute for periwinkle. It's just about a value lighter, and it will work just fine. Yeah, I use the term helper in my studio very loosely. My daughter is my helper. This one, not so much. So we're going to base that back row of petals with that periwinkle. It's a beautiful tone. Hey, don't do that. Such a gorgeous color. And it's beautifully opaque, so it's not going to take more than one coat. Now, as for base coating, I like to put a little bit of Jo Sonja's Fast Dry in my brush before I pick up any paint. It just helps keep the paint moving very smoothly off the brush. So you get a beautiful result. Yeah, she's determined to help. Miss Taz here. She takes, I call them, what everybody calls them, cat naps. We say that she's solar powered, and she has a very fast refresh rate because she will go upstairs and she will lay in the kitchen or the living room window, or dining room window, I should say, not the kitchen. And she will absorb the sun for about 15 minutes and then absolutely rain hell on this household for a good 2 hours. And then she will do it all again after another 15-20 minute nap. It's that black coat. And we discovered that she's got two little racing stripes on her back. Just slightly different shades of black, just blacker. She is fun, that's for sure. She keeps the other cats and the dog. You stay away from that palette, you. Look, you are starting to take over the painting space here. McGinty. No. No. Okay, you go to your window. She's going up solar charging again. Okay, I'm getting a right here. McGinty has decided to have a nap in the window. There we go. So look at that color. Is it ever vibrant? It is incredibly vibrant. So I'm going to switch to a smaller round. So we have some smaller areas to fill in. Oh, I've got to find my smaller round. Nope. I really need to find a better way to store these brushes so I can find them. Okay. So these little bits off of here, and don't forget, we're going to leave a narrow little space between those areas. I'll move my brushes and I'm going to give you another zoom here. There we go. This is such a great color. As I said, a little bit of that Jo Sonja's Fast Dry Glaze in your brush before you pick up the color, and the paint moves off the brush very smoothly. The color for this is Periwinkle. It's a delightful purpley blue. It reads, depending on what you pair it with, it reads more blue or more purple. But it sort of walks that line. It's a very nice color. It's been around for quite some time. Decor put out a lovely lighter value of this called Perfect Perry. And it's a lovely tone too. It's just a touch lighter than this one, and it reads a little more purple. And it does cover very nicely. I will say that. It has a very nice tone, and it does cover very well. Yeah. Miss Thang has decided she's going to stay in the window for now. Good. She's not grabbing the brush out of my hand, so there we are. Love it. A color I haven't used very often. So I'm going to dry this. Very, very well. There we go. Now, a color that I have fallen in love with since it came out is this one. Okay, where'd it go? It's this one. This is Stormy. It's one of those colors. Surprisingly enough, it has become one of my favorites. I think this is the right. Hang on a minute. Nope, it's Twilight. Jeez. Twilight is the color I'm using. Good grief. I'm going to find a nice little 3/8 angle. Da, da, da. I love pulling colors. And honestly, I can sit here and pull colors all day. Stormy and Twilight have rapidly become my favorite two colors. I love Stormy. It's a beautiful blue. It's nice and deep and quite transparent. And Twilight is just gorgeous. It's got this nice transparency, and again, it leans into the purpley blue, just like this. So here we go with a little bit of Twilight. I think I may have misnamed this color in the... So we're going to shade under that first part of the petals right here underneath, and you're going to bring that color down a little bit. Just walk it down a little like that. I like walking a color down. There we are. So we're going to be using, oh, I love this color. A little bit of Joe Sonia's, a little bit of that Twilight, not Stormy. I think that's a misnomer. Oops, my apologies if I've written that into the pattern. Now I'm going to have to go check. I'm having one of those moments where I'm doubting myself, or doubting what I wrote anyway. It drives me batty when that happens. And it does happen where I've put the wrong name on something. Stop. Okay, now I have to figure it out if I've made that mistake. Let's have a look. Yes, I did. I called this color Stormy, and it's not. It's Twilight. I'll make the change on the pattern, but the color should be Twilight, not Stormy. Yeah. See? I had to check. So now I know I have to amend that. Not a problem. I'll make the corrected version available. Not to worry. So I love this color. I mean, it's just, it turns that very pretty periwinkle into another color entirely. And it really gives it a nice glow, especially against that black background. I love this color. And what's a good substitute for Stormy? Oh my goodness. Honestly, I would more than likely lean into... I would probably look at one of the darker purples, like a dioxazine, something like that. I think leaning into the blues, they tend to get a little chalky and a little... what's the word I'm looking for? A little chalky and a little opaque. That's... couldn't get there from here. So apologies for the error. It's Twilight. So I'm going to put a nice little float again on these long limbs off the back here. I'm going to walk that color down a little bit. And then we're going to dry it. Good morning, Linda. Hi, Nance. Miss Nance versus Tracy. She had a birthday on the 12th. Everybody wish you a happy birthday. Now that we've got that first float in, you can see that color really starts to get quite rich. So now I'm going to float a center vein into each of those petals. That twilight is just so rich. And it's beautifully transparent, so you have great control over it. So center vein, again, with that same twilight color. Just love this. Easy peasy. So these take on that. Yes, Pauline. Yeah, just scratch it out. I'll make the correction and then I'll make the pattern, the corrected version, available. My apologies for that. What is the substitute for twilight? Again, I would probably look at probably a dioxazine, thinned dioxazine purple. That would be my suggestion. You need something with that dark purple tone, and you need something that is very transparent. So I would look at probably a dioxazine. Your flowers will come out perhaps a bit more purpley than blue, but that's okay too. So, oh, look at that. So, still got a shiny spot there. I'll make sure it's good and dry. These flowers are just... Columbine are butterfly friendly and bumblebee friendly. And that's what I filled my beds with, is those pretty colors. So now that that's dry, we're going to go back in and deepen that float. We're going to put another float of that twilight. Shade the base first. This color is just spectacular. And do the same thing with our spaces here. I love how vibrant that periwinkle becomes when you put this color in. So, little float. Now, you might have noticed when I'm floating, look at where my brush is. Look at how it's laying on the surface. I use the whole edge of that brush. Fabulous. So we're going to dry this. And then we're going to deepen that center vein one more time. We want that center vein to be very well defined. I'm trying to keep it in the shot. I have a tendency to drift. So bear with me. There we go. But we want that nice deep center vein. Just like that. Et voila. So I'm going to brush. That's what I would like. I have, like I said, I have the most beautiful purple, and they're not really white, purplish, pinky, the white portion here, purplish to pink. They're lovely, but I had, for a while, everything in my flower bed was the same color, which was driving me batty. So I talked about last week, talked about the cone flowers that I have in my garden, in my front flower bed. And when I bought them, I thought they would be this, that pinkish purple that is so common in coneflowers. And so I brought it home and I planted it because I wanted an echinacea. I wanted a coneflower. And I have two of them. I have one in the other bed, and it always looks so pretty, and it's more pink than purple. So I really wanted to move one into the beds up front. So I found one at a garden center. It wasn't blooming, but it had a marker that said, purple coneflower. I brought it home, planted it in the front flower bed, and 3 weeks later, it bloomed. But it bloomed this color. So these are my coneflowers. And although the camera is excellent, it does not show you just how vibrant this color is, because they are literally almost neon. They're such a bright orange. So that's what we talked about last week. So that's what I did. I brought my coneflowers in, and this is the one that we are painting next Saturday. So we're doing those pretty coneflowers. The color is just so vibrant. Oh, Diana, I'm sorry. I'm flabbergasted at the color. I've never seen one that color before. And I was just they're beautiful. And it is loaded this year. Absolutely insane. And the color is spectacular. So we've got a little bit of warm white on the palette. And I've got a little bit of periwinkle. So I'm going to pick up a little periwinkle. And then I'm going to pick up a tiny amount of white. And I'm going to make a lighter periwinkle. Very light. There we go. So I'm making a very light. This is our highlight color for this flower. Now I'm using that pretty periwinkle as the base for it. And there is our highlight. I love this color. So you're going to be very light-handed with this because it is a strong contrast, especially on that black. But, oh. It does make for the prettiest highlights on this purple. Or this periwinkle, I should say. Love it. And again, don't be shy. Use the whole chisel edge of that brush. And then you're going to bring that highlight color down this side and onto the tip of those little tails that stick off the back. And don't worry if you get some float out onto that surface. That's okay, because we're going to do a little cleanup work at the end anyway. So just bring a little of that periwinkle in white out here. And that mixture is soft enough that it's not a garish highlight. The highlight is a mixture between a little bit of that periwinkle, which is your base color, and a little bit, a very tiny little bit of warm white, so that you have a lighter value of the base color created. So little float. Don't be afraid to use your fingertips either if you need to blot something. Such a gorgeous color. So pretty. There we go. I just realized I forgot a flower. I forgot the little bud right here. Mm-hmm. Yep. Miss Taz decided to terrorize someplace else. It is the name that we hear most often in this house. You blame Taz? Yes, that's probably a good idea. Blame Taz for my inattention. She is frequently distracting, to say the least. But she's just so much fun to have around. Hi, Charmaine. I didn't see your name there. Just out of curiosity, how many of you are watching right now that are in Oklahoma City? There's a convention going on in Oklahoma right now for decorative painting. So a lot of my pals are there right now. Thank you, Alicia. Okay. So I'm going to come back, pick up a little bit of that periwinkle and a little bit of warm white. I'm going to make that very light blue. And I'm just going to brighten a spot here because it kind of disappeared. There we go. I got a little too close, I think. So I'm going to come up here and shade my, oh goodness. There we go. Our little bud here needed some shading. Oh my goodness. Janet? You're watching officially? Closing in a few minutes. I know. I think that's what I miss the most, is seeing all my friends. Oh, I know. It looked like they had a blast. Such a fun thing. Oh, I know. I'm going to do this one more time just to make sure our shading is nice and tight. As complex as these flowers look, they really aren't difficult to paint. You do have to take a little time though. But that's all it is just taking a little time. So we'll put a little highlight on there. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white on that dirty brush that I used to highlight with, and I'm going to brighten some highlights. So it's a fair amount more warm white in there. See how bright that highlight got? And it's just a little float. So thin it out well so that you get a soft transition. You don't want this to look like a stripe on there or an outline. We want that nice bright highlight. There we go. That little bit of thinned warm white makes such a difference. Having those layered highlights where you're going up by value is what gives you that soft look, that more velvety appearance. It's having those layers and even having the more opaque colors overlapping the dark ones is what gives that soft look. The Columbine really loved the heat. Mine just went absolutely berserk this year. They were so loaded, just absolutely bursting with blossoms. They were so heavy. So yes, they are really loving the weather, the hotter weather. Mine are in the hottest place. I mean, they're right at the south-facing flower beds, so they get all the sunshine at the peak of the day. And now I'm going to rinse my brush, and then our final highlight is just straight warm white. But you're going to really blend. We don't want this color full strength. You want it very watered down. There we go. Just like that. There's that. Look at how soft that type of highlight makes these flowers. Now there's going to be a few areas, and you can see it, like little spots along here where, you know, your floats have gone off the edge type thing. We are going to get rid of all of those a little later on, because we can. We're going to do a little bit of cleanup. A little bit more warm white there and there. Our light source is coming from the upper left side. So that's why you're seeing the brightest highlights on those areas. Such a pretty flower. And voila. Now, something that I love doing after I've done my highlights is to take a little of that shading color, heavily thinned, and just a light float down the center vein. It does a couple of things. It helps keep that center vein defined, but it also really softens the boundaries between those floats, gives them back their sharpness and that definition. It gives them that wonderful detail. And then we're going to come underneath the flower here to areas, and we're going to deepen that. A little more of that. I'm using that twilight. Walk that down. I'm rinsing out my brush, and then I'm going to get a little bit of asphaltum. Can I add captioning next time? I thought we had captioning on. But yes, we could absolutely do that. So once I've done all my shading, one of the things that I like to do is pick up a tiny little bit of asphaltum. Tiny. And this color just tones all of those other colors. Just a little. I'm only using a small amount. But it gives all of those deep shadows a little more depth. I don't know what it is, but asphaltum just has always been my go-to color for toning things. Oh, okay, you've got captioning? Huh. Because we usually have it, so I'm not sure why you can't see it. Oh, thank you, Donna. That's nice. That's very nice. So I love this look. So I'm going to dry that really well. And then we're going to handle the skirt. So warm white is the color we're using for our skirt. I'm going to call it the skirt for lack of a better term. There's my round. And I'm going to use a little bit of Joe Sonia in my brush just to make the paint move. And as always, when I am base coating something, I apply my paint in the shape of the piece that I'm painting. So if I'm painting a leaf, then I follow the shape of the leaf. If I'm painting a petal, I follow the shape of the petal. Like so. Now I'm leaving a teeny tiny space between each of those elements. So there's a tiny little gap between each petal. And this just helps me so that I don't have to retrace everything, because I hate retracing anything. I'm not a lazy designer, but I am a lazy painter. I hate that part. So if I can avoid having to retrace anything onto my surface, I'm going to find a way to do it, because I really don't like it. It keeps me away and delays that that immediate gratification. Did we lose Facebook? I don't think so. I'm still seeing posts. It's fascinating to me that this flower comes to life so quickly. Okay. So there's our first coat of warm white. Oops, Daisy. And I'm going to move to a smaller brush. There we go. I'm going to move to a smaller brush because I'm making a mess of this petal over. There we go. And then I have one here. And this one has a nifty little fold over. And then there's the portion underneath. Voila. A little bit closer. So while that's drying, I'm going to come over here and we're going to, I'm shedding. We're going to base coat our butterfly with warm white. And again, I follow the shape of the area that I'm painting. So in this case, and then I'm going to leave a little gap. Since I have the warm white out and I've got to do this anyhow, operator hair. Well, this looks like lips. Yes, I agree. It does. So I've recently started posting some little step-by-step quick tutorials on painting various things. And I've had a lot of people really excited about them, which rather surprised me. I didn't know how that was going to be viewed. So I'm really glad that you know, those of you that have been watching are really liking them. I just generated them. I've been using AI and my tablet for a lot of different things, but I generated these step-by-steps by literally by copying, pasting my instructions for various things into the software. And then it uses the techniques that I use and then generates those images. And I've been having a lot of fun with it because they're so cool. They come out really nicely. What was the shade color? You missed it. The shading color that I used on here was Twilight. Yeah. But I'm really glad you guys like them. So if you're, I know some people were literally copying and saving them off of the off of Facebook, but you can go to my website. And when you go to the homepage, at the very top, there's a menu. If you click on educational materials, it will take you in there and you can download them all in PDF form. So and there's a bunch more there that you haven't seen. So just to let you know that you can download them there. I'm working on potentially having them as plasticized, I think is a good word for them, or laminated cards, and then have the line drawing on the back of the items so that you don't have to do that, but you know, so that you could practice. But those ones would be laminated. But that's what we're thinking of. But I love I like the step-by-steps, and I thought that they might be helpful. So here we are. But yes, I mean, anytime I post something like that, throw a little heart or something in the comment section. That helps me out because it means that people are engaged. I mean, the likes and the loves are fantastic, but it's the little comments and the little hearts that drive the engine, so to speak. So when you find something you really like, just pop a little comment. It doesn't have to be anything special. Just even just a little heart or a thumbs up or whatever you want to do. It just keeps the algorithm going. That's all. But yeah, if you could do that for me, I'd be grateful. So, as I say, I mean, all those little things, they just keep the lights on, you know? Here we go. Butterfly. So we have our flowers, base coated white. I'm going to dry those. Here we go. I like the idea of the sheet on the back with like the step by steps on one side and then the line drawing on the back. So you could literally just trace it and then practice. I think that works really well. So we're going to try and make those available soon. So we are making major headway with this. It's going a lot faster than I thought it would. So I'm loving this, loving it, loving it, loving it. So this is an opportunity. Once this white is in, the one thing I've discovered is the minute you're putting something, especially white, against all of this, a couple of things happen. Some of your highlights tend to get a little muted. So that's when I go back in and just give them a little tweak in places. Sometimes that's all they need is just a little something, something, if you know what I mean. Because all that white subdues it. You know, that you've got this flash of white in the center. So you can tweak and adjust highlights as you go. I think it's a fun idea. Could work. So as you can see, I've got, when I base coat like this, I leave little lines in between everything. I'm going to zoom in a bit more because I want you to be able to see this. You can see all of these black lines. So it looks very disjointed and unfinished. So I'm going to take a little bit of that warm white. I'm going to thin it out a little bit. And I'm going to apply another coat, but I'm going to go right over those lines with this second coat. And it does two things. One, it makes that first coat a bit more uniform, but I can still see those lines. But they're not as heavily obvious. But now look. So now I've got, it looks much better. I can still see those lines, so I still don't have to trace anything, which makes me happy. But it also makes my flower so much more uniform. Thinned warm white. Right over all of those lines. Gives that first coat a lot more uniformity. A little more opacity, but I can still see my lines. I just realized I didn't quite have enough paint out there. There we go. Look at that. Looks so much better. I'm going to do the same thing to the butterfly. Just a coat of that thinned warm white. Oh boy, I'm going to have a bunch of things to clean up when we're done here. Here we go. Et voila. Carrie, truth is it's Lucy. It's our Lucy. We call her our Lucy because she's one of the members of my membership group. She's trying to go incognito so the authorities don't catch her. So we're going to dry this. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. Whoops, too much. And we're going to start shading. We claim you. Yes, we do claim you. So we're going to start the shading on this flower with that periwinkle. And I'm going to thin it out quite a bit because it is a very opaque color. And what I love about this is I'm going to leave a little ledge at the edge of that petal. Let me zoom in a bit more so you can see what I'm doing. That would be helpful, would it not? So see how I floated in there? And I'm going to pick up a little more. And we're going to separate these petals with a little float of periwinkle. I love this color. It's just... And when I come out to the edge, I'm going to leave just a narrow little lip. Like that. And we're going to put that color down in the center of this as well. So for those of you that were wondering what the shading color was for the center of this flower, it's periwinkle. And then I'm going to come along again. I'm going to give that a nice narrow little lip. Like so. And we're going to shade underneath that petal too. Like that. I completely messed up this petal. Like completely. I just realized it looking at my... I don't know how I did that. When I'm looking at this flower, I know exactly what I did. So I have to fix it because it'll bug me. It's already bugging me. Yep. So this right here should have been a petal. Like that. I'm going to have to fix this. So I got to come down here. So the mess that I made there, I should have had this petal like this. And this one should have had that little fold over in it. Don't ask me what I was doing. Couldn't tell you. So I'm going to dry that. And then I'm going to come back in and fix. So I have what should be a little lip right here. And then this should be rounded out like that. Comme ça. Okay. Which means this petal needs to be fixed as well. But not as much as it could have. So I'm going to dry that. And I'm going to load up my brush with a little bit of that. There we go. There we are. It is, after all, just paint. So I'll just quickly repair the highlight on this petal. Too much. There we go. It is paint. Mistakes don't ever have to stay there forever. It was a boo-boo, not a life sentence. There we go. So, come back to our petal here. Now that I've corrected my boo-boo, more or less, I'm going to float underneath that. There we go. Much better. Good gravy, Marie. I was wondering why it didn't look right. Fix it. So, again, I'm going to come in here with that. Oh, I love this color. That little bit of periwinkle. We'll deepen that shadow down towards the center. Much better. Much, 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 much better. There we go. So I'm going to come over here and tackle this one. And it's the same idea. We've got a little flip over on the inside. And I'm going to give this petal that little ridge and separate that one. Separate those. Okay, I can now. I managed to mess that first one up. But after all, it is just paint. And quite honestly, you can fix almost anything. And it isn't the end of the world. And a little float. Oops. I should probably have gotten a smaller brush, but that's all right. There we go. Okay. Okay. I'm happier. So I'm going to rinse out my brush, and I'm going to use a little bit of thinned asphaltum. Nicely thinned asphaltum. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to deepen that shading down in there with a little bit of asphaltum. And underneath these petals as well. And this little separation in here. I'm going to do that down here. Ooh, that's too much. There. I got a little overexcited with the asphaltum. Here we go. And a little bit under here. Excellent. So that just brings all of our toning in really nicely. So I don't often use titanium white. I did use a little bit in this one. So a little titanium white. And we're going to come out to the very edges. Blend this out really well on your brush. You don't want this full strength. And we're going to highlight right out to the edges of these petals like so. Go right over that gap and over top of that lighter blue, that periwinkle. And it just gives these flowers that really pretty softness. It mutes all of that just a little bit. And it gives the flowers a nice soft look without burying everything. I love the look that this does. And it's a very loose float, very little color on the brush. Nice soft float. It mutes all of those colors right at the edge, gives you a very nice highlight. And then for those turnovers, I'm going to take a tiny bit of titanium white. And we're just going to use a nice highlight right on the top edge of that little flip over there. Coming out to the point. Right at the edge of those little turnovers, you want that bright white. There we go. So I'm going to dry this really well. Look how soft they look. I love that. So the green that I chose to use for this, I deviated completely from my usual greens. I usually use lush greens or avocado toast or something like that. And I wanted something that's really going to pop off of this black background. And so I chose this color. This is New Leaf. I love this color. When I can get it out of the bottle. I love the tone of this. I just think it's so pretty. And then I was looking for a ring to wear today. Yellow didn't work. And I don't have an amethyst. Well, I do actually, but it's I need to have it reset. But this is the one my husband gave me. This one is a Montana Sapphire. And I just love the color, but it doesn't go with the Columbine. I was kind of hoping I was going to match the flowers today, but no luck. So in the center of each of these flowers, we have a little green pod. Yeah, you can use avocado toast. Is that what I put in there? That's not what I used at all. I used leaf green. So you can use avocado toast. In fact, why don't I use avocado toast since that's what I put in the pattern? That's lush green. That's antique green. I seem to be missing a bottle of paint. I am missing. Be willing to bet Taz took my paint somewhere. Okay. The pattern says avocado toast. I would be willing to bet that Taz, because she cleared off my desk today. This morning when I came down, all of my brushes were all over the floor. Okay, so I had originally painted this one with not avocado toast, with leaf green, but because I have it written in the pattern, let's do it with the avocado toast. See, I deviated from my own plan and messed myself up. So there's our avocado toast. It's not quite as bright as the other one, but it's okay. And jewel green, yes. Oh yes, I know I use jewel green because I love that color. So we're going to base the leaves and the stems with avocado toast. I do really love this avocado toast. It is such a nice opaque green. It covers really nicely. And it dries nicely. It's got a higher yellow content than the lush green. It leans in very nicely. Such a pretty color. So we're going to use that to base all of our leaves as well. I might need to put another coat on there, but well, you know what? I don't think it's going to make a huge difference, but much rather go with the one. Is jewel green a new color? No, actually, jewel green came out a couple of years ago. I think it was 2025. Nope. Okay, 2023. Jewel green. If you don't have jewel green, you can use mystic teal or a mermaid tail, any one of those. It's essentially a teal. It's a very teal green. They call it jewel green, but to me it looks very blue. It's a very pretty color though. It's almost like a phthalo green, but very pretty. I can't believe I've made 2 mistakes in the color list on this one. Probably just out of habit. Gravitating towards colors, especially when I'm typing. And the other problem is I have a tendency to change my mind halfway through a pattern, which is why I end up repainting things so many times, because no, don't like that green or don't like that blue, so I repaint it with a slightly different color, and then I forget to change it in the instructions. Happens all the time. Jewel green margarita and avocado toast. Those are them. The other problem is when I'm teaching on Saturday, I rarely have the pattern right in front of me. I probably should. Probably make things a little easier, but it also gives you an opportunity to look for alternatives, I think. Like I said, I think I've painted this one 3 times already. Saturdays, the one that's coming up next Saturday, the cone flowers. Those flowers have been, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 different colors, trying to get that glow. That's what I wanted, was that sort of fiery look that the ones out front have, and I got there. It took me a little bit, but I got there. It's just finding the combination of colors. Sometimes I'll just paint over them. Sometimes I'll start fresh on a new canvas and just, completely redo it. This Columbine, I did one on cardboard, test the color palette. I did another one on something else, on a panel. Then I did this one on canvas. And I've been happy with canvas ones. I like the colors I chose. So, but unfortunately, when I was writing the pattern, I forgot which colors I used. And of course, I went to my defaults for a couple of them. So my apologies. I have to make some changes to the pattern anyway. There we go. Such a pretty green, this avocado. But as you can see, it's a little lackluster. Hi, Sharon. Sharon from Nova Scotia. Is it cooler down that way, Sharon? We're much cooler than we have been. Did you miss what was for dinner? I made a ragu sauce, and we're having spaghetti. So I made a nice ragu sauce. There's a big pot of ragu upstairs. So I made it with ground turkey and ground chicken this time around. Usually I use ground beef, but I really didn't want to take out a second mortgage to, for the beef, because holy hell. The price of beef is redonkulous. Here we go. Yes, thank heavens it's not too hot, because it's been crazy here. In the last few weeks, the temperatures around here have just been insane. And here on the East Coast, we don't usually get 40 degrees, but we've had it here the last couple of weeks. It's just, second circle of hell isn't that warm. And it's bringing out all the creepy crawlers. I don't do creepy crawlers. Well, not the 8-legged variety anyway. And I've had too many of those. Out near my garden, I've got this thing called an orb weaver. Great big one. It's a gray orb weaver, big, soft gray, like dun colored, I guess. Gray to brown. Somebody told me she was beautiful. No. She stays out there by the garden, that's fine. She's eating all of the critters that don't like garden doesn't like, so it's the only reason she's still there. But I have a wolf spider that lives here in the studio and likes to make himself known every once in a while. Him and I do not get along. Or her and I, I'm not sure who it is. There we go. I know, it's just been horrible. Yeah, exactly. It does become more expensive. So I'm of the opinion that, if we can find the solution, an alternative, absolutely. Most of the time, any color palette that I give you is merely a suggestion anyway. It's what I used. Been there, done that, Sherry. I've got the t-shirt. So, leaves are now based. The fun thing is they don't have to be absolutely perfect. I mean, these are by no stretch of the imagination perfect. So we're going to use a little bit of jewel green. And we're going to float. I love this jewel green. Again, you could use mermaid tail. You could use mystic teal. I just think this is a fun color. So I'm going to put a center vein down this leaf right there. Super simple, right? Nothing fancy. I'm going to dry it and then do it again because this is not a strong color. It's surprisingly not as strong as you'd expect it to be. So I'm going to use it a little more. And you're going to use it to float these little leaves as well. You know, put a center vein on those little, I call them leaflets, or the little pieces sticking off the leaf. Just like so. It's going to give us a center vein. So don't worry too much if it doesn't look perfect. It's fine. There we go. So we just want a little bit of it down there. And then we're going to use that same color to give us a shadow underneath. You're going to walk it down a little bit. So we're going to bring a little of that in here, underneath, and behind. So it tucks in behind those stems. It's a surprisingly great color for this. So we have a little leaf here, so a little float. And then I'm going to use that color to put a line up the left side of the stems. That's your shadow on the left side. Like that. And again, don't worry too much about the background. Right there, yes, there is, but I missed it. It's just a little stroke right there. It's just something to connect it to that stem. Yeah, it's vibrant against this. Right? So I've just, put a quick float of that color on the center veins of all of those leaves. Now, our highlight color for this is Margarita, which is that bright lemon lime color. I love Margarita. It's a nice sunny color. And this is our highlight color. So I've thinned it out a little. And we're doing the center vein, and then we're going to put a little float. See how the tips of these are rounded over a little? I'm going to put a little float right at the tips of those little leaflets, I guess is a good word for them. So a little float right out at the tip of the leaf. So keep an eye right here. So that little bit at the tip, see how those leaves are? I'm just putting like a little C stroke of a float out at the tips of those things, and look what it does for those leaves. Indefinitely, Karen. My videos are up there indefinitely. I don't restrict the time they're up. You could come back in a year and they'll still be there. There's 6 years worth of videos on there, so. We've done a lot of painting in 6 years. We've painted together an awful lot in 6 years. prior to the pandemic, I mean, we could only paint together if we were at conventions of the sort. Not everybody could get to them. So it's been so much fun doing this online. And exciting. I think I've learned as much from you guys as you've learned from me. So thank you for that. Now we're going to use that same margarita, little thin float, and I'm just using the tip of the angle to put a float down the left side of the stems, just to give it that little highlight, like so. And voila. Now you could do this again. Does it matter which side of the center stem? Ideally, it should be on the left. Your highlight, the light impact is coming from the upper left side. So anything exposed here and here, 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 and here are going to have a little highlight. Highlights on the left. So you can take a fairly strong highlight on the edge of your brush, the chisel edge of the brush, and just pop a little highlight in, or you can grab your favorite liner brush. I'm going to grab mine. I've got a 5/0 extra long detail liner. Oh, Sharon, thank you. That's such a sweet thing. I love to paint. I like to share painting. So I've got a little bit of margarita thinned with a little bit of warm white, and I'm going to use a very fine line, and I'm just going to stroke in a few tiny little highlights, like so. Just tiny. They don't have to be heavily detailed. Just a tiny little highlight on the highlight side, opposite the shadow. You know, just like that. It just gives those leaves a little more texture and amplifies the direction. This one needs a little bit more on this side. There we go. And then I'm going to, right on the edge of that highlight, I'm going to put a little stroke of that brighter yellow green on that inside edge of the stem on the left side. So there's our leaves. They're not quite as bright as these ones. Again, you know, I made a small error with in the supply list. I had used leaf green for this, and I wrote down avocado green, but they both work. They both work. So we have in the center of our Columbine going to use a little bit of thinned baby duck and a little bit of warm white. Make that a little lighter. And in the center of this flower, you can do this with green, you can do this with yellow, you could do this. We just need to put a few little lines in coming out from the center. They don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be all that great. Just bring them in so that they sort of circle around that green post in the middle. We're going to make them fuzzy. Here we go. A few little lines. I'm going to dry that. And then roughly at the end of those little lines, and I do say roughly, you're going to put some little dots of baby duck. They're, roughly at the end of those little strokes. They don't have to be perfect. And then you're going to darken them with a little bit of orange flame. I love orange flame. It's such a great color for florals. I just don't want to overdo the orange flame. We're just going to put a few in. Just kind of hides that green post a little. You don't want to make it go away, but we want to hide it a little. So there is our centers done. Unzoom. Okay, unzoomed. How's that? There we go. So I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup now. I have a thing, whenever I see something like this. Oh, sorry, Brenda. I've got a little bit of lamp black. And this is where I like cleaning things up. The liner, it was a 5/0 extra long detail liner. There's areas like here. Let me bring this up to the camera. You see where you get these little foggy bits where a float traveled over the edge? I take my base color and I clean up those little edges. I want nice sharp edges. It doesn't seem like much at first, but in the end, when you are all finished, you can sit back and you look at it and go, oh, everything looks so good. Everything has that nice finished look. It's clean. It doesn't look cluttered. And this is also that opportunity where you can fix things that are, we all have that stem that got a little thicker as you were working. I mean, I've done that. I do it all the time. But this is that opportunity to clean up those little bulges and those little imperfections. Areas where it's just not great. Like I have one right here that I'm really not happy about. At the edge of that stem, a little bit of black. So you can go around after the fact and you can tidy up all of these little things just with a little bit of that background color to sort out those little bits. Sharpen edges, clean up ugly little floats that got sideways. Sharpen details. Sharpen edges. In the end, it just makes everything look so much better. Like right here. So all we have left to do is our border and our butterfly. Hello.
Hello.
Where's Taz? Or is she plotting something? She was down here making a nuisance of herself. She was helping.
Helping.
Mm-hmm. I'm good. So our little butterfly down here, he started out warm white. And he's got lots of little imperfections at the edges, and we'll fix those up as we go. So let's talk about the butterfly. I'm going to zoom in a little tighter on this butterfly. So we're going to use the color that we used for the flower, that oh so pretty periwinkle. And we're going to put a little bit of warm white on the same brush. So we're using a double load. So we have periwinkle on the toe of the brush, and on the heel of the brush, we have a little bit of warm white. We're going to blend and walk away from the white so that we have nice purpley blue on the chisel edge and a little bit of white on the heel. Now I'm going to put the whole chisel edge of the brush on the surface, and I'm going to float along the edge of the wings like that. And then I'm going to tap and pull in towards the center. And I'm going to do the same thing on all 4 wings. So float. See how that float works right along the outside edge, up to the edge of the bottom petal. And then when you come back, you just tap, 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 chisel edge, back toward the center. I'm going to do the same thing on the other wing. Float, like so. And then tap, 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 tap. Just pulling the paint into the center. Having that double lobe just makes it so much smoother to get that color in. Here we go. Float along the edge. It's easier if you do the float first, instead of trying to do it all in one go. So there's the float, right? So now you've got that bar of color, and then you just tap into it. Tap, tap, tap and pull, tap and pull, tap and pull. So now we've got that really quite pretty blend at the outside edge of your butterfly. So I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to dry that. And I'm going to pick up some more of that periwinkle. And this is just a standard float. This part. And we're going to come in here to the center of the butterfly, right close to the body. We're going to put a float right there, close to the body of the periwinkle. Just like that. Keep it nice and close to the body, like that. So now we've got, sorry, I'm trying to keep that centered so you can see it. So it should look quite dark at the outside edge, dark close to the body, and then in the center portion of the wings. So I'm going to dry it really well. And then we're going to pick up a little of that lovely color we used on the flower, which is that twilight. I'm going to blend it out quite well to float. And you're going to come out to the edge of the butterfly and just float the edge. The neat part of this is because that color is transparent, all of those little textures that you created with that first layer stay there. So a float of that thinned twilight. Look how pretty that is. I love the fact that by doing this, you don't eliminate all of that texture. See that wonderful texture in the wings? So dry that. And then we're going to deepen the color close to the body with the same thing. Just a nice float of that Doesn't that butterfly look delicate? Keep those colors very transparent, especially the Stormy. It's a strong color. There we go. It's so pretty. So before I do the next step, I'm going to pick up some of that black. I've got a couple of spots here that I need to fix because I am not happy with them. There was a little bobble there, and there's one along this edge right here that I'm not happy with. And there's one right there. I want this butterfly to look delicate, oops, and sharp. So I want to clean up a couple of the little whoopsies here. And I made another whoopsie fixing my whoopsie. Twilight, Joan. It's that deep purpley blue. I'm going to take off that black because I just messed up my butterfly. There we go. Okay. There. And I got a spot right here that I whoopsied as well. There. So the whole idea here is to keep the edges of this butterfly nice and crisp. The crisper he looks. Am I using floating medium or water? I'm using Jo Sonja's Fast Dry Glaze. So here we go. Doesn't she look delicate? She looks very delicate. Now, I want to add a little interest, and I'm going to come back to that Twilight, that lovely blue, purpley blue. I'm going to deepen just the tips right here. Just the tip of that wing at the top. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just the tip. And the very bottom down here. Heavily thinned. Look at that. So now this butterfly has that curve over. It looks very light and very delicate. So this is where some of this detailing comes in. Remember the titanium white that we used on the flowers? We're going to pick up a little on our liner. And on the very edge, right here, we're going to put, oh, come on. I had a little too much paint on my brush. I'm going to put right on the edge of that wing, going to put a fine line of titanium white right there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. You see how where I placed it makes those whites pop? And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom winglet. I'm just going to bring it across so that it joins the curve on the butterfly. Just like that. The more delicate you can make that line, the better. There we go. He's coming along quite nice. So that chisel blended technique for doing the butterflies gives you a very delicate look. But we're going to enhance it a little bit. We're going to use a very small stencil brush. I've got a little teeny tiny one here someplace. There it is. And I'm going to use a tiny bit of titanium white or warm white, doesn't matter which. And right through the center of the wing, we're going to put a soft dry brush right in here. Like that. Nice soft dry brush. All it's doing is softening the boundaries between all of those colors. And it kind of mutes them a little bit. There we go. And then we're going to use a little bit of either warm white or titanium white just to add a little detail. And the tinier you can go, the better. Just put a cluster of little tiny white dots at the edge and the point of the wing, like that. Just random. You don't want them too heavily patterned, and you don't need them big. You want to keep them rather small and scattered, so the smaller the better. And then I like doing the same thing. Start really tiny and just a smattering of little tiny white dots along the edge, like that. Teeny, teeny, tiny. So it makes that butterfly look so delicate and kind of sparkly. Now for the body of our butterfly, we're going to use asphaltum. So a little bit for the head, a little bit for the body. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white on the dirty brush. I don't want a seriously bright highlight. So I'm just going to put a little bit of asphaltum mixed with that warm white for a highlight down the back. Just like that. And then I'm going to brighten it just a little, tiny little dot of, ooh. That tiny little dot was almost as big as this head. And then a little dot of warm white for his body. And I'm going to come back to my titanium white or warm white. Either white. It just needs to be white. And I'm going to use 2 tiny little strokes for the antenna. And voila. Now, I've got that white in there. But I want to put a fine black line just above the white to separate those wings just a tiny bit. And it's much easier to do it this after the fact. It's just a tiny thin line. If it's too hard with the liner, you can do it with a gel pen. So I've got a couple of little things I want to fix. There's a little bit here I want to crisp up. And then we're going to do our border. Again, I see a spot here that will drive me bananas if I don't fix it right there. Nothing is ever perfect, but there's nothing wrong with going around and cleaning up, little untidy bits that are going to improve the look of your piece if you do it. There we go. Much better. So I'm going to dry this really well, and then we're going to put our border. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit and then back. Oops. Out. There we go. Just so you can see how I do it. And then Renee will likely be down here shortly to set us up for the wheel. So we have two more pieces in this series. We have the coneflower for next Saturday. And then by special request, we're going to do the poppies the week after. So we have coneflowers and poppies coming up. And that will complete this in and out series. So I'm excited. So I was just informed that I need to put my my viney things in. So I've got my favorite liner brush, which is my 5/0 extra long detail liner. What would I do without you guys? I'd forget my head if it wasn't attached. So I'm going to break and do that. I do like a curly Q. I'm a fan of curly Qs. No denying that. There we go. There you go, my dear. I got your your curly Qs in. So the borders on these are super simple, but you do have to take a little bit of care when you're putting them on. So I'm using a Posca gold paint pen. This one is a 0.25. It's this one. I really like these. I use gold pens for a lot of different things. I use different types of gold pens depending on what I need to do. You want to see me load my brush for curly Qs? Okay. I'll do that right after I do the border. I'll be happy to show you that out. It's not Tracy without asphalt and curly Qs. That is quite true. I don't do anything without them. So I'm using, as I said, I use a steel edge ruler with a cork back. To keep having the cork back just keeps the ruler off the surface so that paint doesn't bleed under it. And I've jury-rigged numerous rulers to do it. I prefer steel edge to plastic because the steel edge doesn't chip over time. Now, when you put this border on, you're going to stop short of the leaves or the flowers. Just a little. And I usually do top and bottom first, let it dry, and then do left and right. Or right and left, depending. The reason I do that is just so that I'm not smearing wet paint with the ruler. Oops. So I'll dry those. Here we go. This is a pretty series, and I mean, I love doing a floral series at the best of times, but you know, there are always daisies or something, and I really wanted to do something quite different. So that's why I went with the collection of flowers that I chose this time around. I just wanted something a little unique. And I hadn't planned on a Columbine until a dear friend decided to help me out. So now that's why this one is called Janet's Columbine. So there's our little gold border. And I'm going to make sure this is dry. And then we're going to shade underneath where the flowers and the butterflies and the leaves overlap the gold. I mean, it looks fine as it is, but I like that. I like the more positive aspect of having the shadow there. So it's a float of lamp black. And it's not a big fancy float, it's just a little short one. It's just to make that edge of the gold where it tucks underneath everything just look a little softer so it doesn't look like it just stopped. So there we go. And you can walk that float up the gold a little bit. Doesn't hurt. I've seen borders like this done where they just did polka dots, little dots. And that has a nice contemporary edge to it. Little dots, little dashes work too. Of course, my OCD would basically tell me that no, every one of those dots and dashes had better be perfect. But yeah, I don't believe in perfection, so I like just the straight line. You could elaborate, let the lines cross at the corners if you're struggling with it. There is absolutely nothing that says it has to be a perfectly straight border. You could use a stencil to put checks around that border. You could, whatever your heart desires. I'm kind of fond of the simplicity of this. I mean, the flowers are quite ornate, the leaves are quite ornate, the butterflies are ornate, but I like the simplicity of that little gold border, and that works for me. So we're going to dry this. If you wanted to, you could double up, put another border around the border, which would be sharp as well. But I really like the simplicity of that single little gold line that just sort of brings everything together. I just think it works really nicely. So the only thing left for me to do is to put my scribblature at the bottom. And then I will send Renee a message telling him we're ready. Live in the same house and I have to message him. There we go. So almost dry. As I said, I have a tendency to go around, a couple of times and I look for little bits where I've need something that needs touching up. Would help if I had paint in the brush. I touched the puddle and missed. There we go. Just little things, little areas to clean up, details to sharpen, things like that. It doesn't have to be a big ordeal. It can be as simple as just, touching up little spaces and spots. But I really think that this is a very pretty piece. It works up so nicely. So there you go. That is Janet's Columbine. So, outside flip, we're ready for the wheel.
Okay.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. So next Saturday, we're doing this one, which is the blazing flowers. I think these are so fun. So this is blazing cone flowers. You're going to need some neon orange. I think you're going to have fun with it. And then the following Saturday, we are doing this bold poppy. And patterns for both of those are already up on the website. So if you're getting ready for the next couple of weeks or want to prep or whatever you'd like to do, there you go. That's what we are doing for the next couple of weeks. Boom. Somebody texted me a t-shirt says my personality is just childhood trauma with good comedic timing. There we go. Oh my goodness. That was fun. I really enjoyed painting that for the fourth time. Oop. Good heavens. That wheel is full.
Yep.
My stars. Are you ready?
Ta-da.
Ta-da. You ready to go? So, just to reiterate today's giveaways, we have some really fun stuff for you. An awesome set, courtesy of Decor, of the Decor Designer Series brushes. So we have 2 sets of those, 5 brushes a piece, I believe. And we have, of course, we have a Create bag full of all kinds of goodies, including one of my lip balms. And we have stencils, and we have a fun little surface back in there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 6x6 art panel. So there's one in each of those. So that's it. And just a reminder, if your name is drawn on the wheel, make sure you go over to the website at tracymoreau.net, click on the Contact Us button, and send us your shipping information, please, so we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible. So spin the wheel. Spin it.
Judy Thacker's wondering if you can have the correct pattern up today.
I will try, yes.
And
Lil Zeich. Awesome, Lil. Lil, I have your shipping information. I know that.
you get
That one. He has no idea what's in them, so it doesn't matter.
Yay, Lil.
And the second one goes to Tina Kutara. I know I'm not saying that right. Quitara? But Tina lives in Maine. I have your shipping information as well. So we're good to go. So thanks so much for joining me today. I'm so glad you did. I missed you guys. So join me next Saturday. We're going to be painting those bold coneflowers, blazing coneflowers. And then the following Saturday, we are painting those bold red poppies. So come and join me. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. I hope you have a great weekend. And if you are close to any of the fires and all of that horrible smoke, please stay indoors, stay safe. And if you do go outside, put a mask on and protect your lungs. They're very, very important. I don't have so many friends that I can afford to lose any. So everybody, please be safe. Mwah. Love you. We'll see you again soon.
Pet your dog.
And pet your dog.
You were waiting.
I was. Thanks, guys.